Hello, everyone. I'm Sir William, and this is Business Statistics with Computer Application. I understand that you've already had statistics subject in your senior high, and that's a good thing because you will be bringing your knowledge of statistics in this course. But how is this subject different or this course different from your previous statistics class? Well, previously, you may have had numerous computation of complex formula or equation using a pen and paper and your calculator. Well, lucky for you, for this course, we'll be using the help of a computer application. In our case, we'll be using Excel as we have agreed with my co-instructors for this course. So let's go ahead and have a little bit of a refresher topic of what is statistics, the basics of statistics. So first, let us define statistics. What is statistics? Well, that's a little bit confusing, isn't it? So let's go ahead and define what are statistics. Well, statistics are numerical facts like percentages, probability, averages, covariance, regression, and all other statistics that you may have been seeing around you. Now, what is statistics? So this definition will be our working definition for this course. Statistics is the art and science of collecting, analyzing, presenting, and interpreting data to help more informed decision. But let me first go to that last part where it says interpreting data to help more informed decision. Well, you have probably realized the meaning of this definition when you were answering one of those first activities that I've given you, where I asked you to tell me a story about how once in your life you have used statistics in making decisions. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of your classmates' response on this activity. So Camille Lagmay or Camille Corpus Lagmay said, one of the instances that statistics helped me was deciding which college and program to commit. Through statistics, I was able to know how advantageous accountancy in terms of job opportunities. Well, this is very true. One of the most important decisions that you have made in your life is to decide which program you're going to enroll to because it will certainly define your future. And thank you for choosing accountancy, and thank you for enrolling at the University of the Cordilleras. How about Gloria Ann Llamas? So she said, one of the most hard decision or the hardest decision that statistics ever helped me was deciding to what school should I go. I asked my friends and my family to choose what school is the best for me, and that's why I ended up here studying in UC. Yes, we can. Yes, we certainly can. And probably the reason why your friends and your parents or your family have recommended University of the Cordilleras because they have looked at the history of the passing grade of the University of the Cordilleras College of Accountancy in the Certified Public Accountant Licensure Examination. But that's statistics, the passing grade. And you use statistics to make a decision or to decide where school you're going to enroll to. All right. So let's go back to our definition of statistics. Statistics is the art and science of collecting, analyzing, presenting, and interpreting data to help more informed decision. Well, it's an art. Statistics is an art. How did it become an art? Because in statistics, you may have already done this in your previous class, you actually use charts, bar graphs, pie charts to better present your data. And in making those pie charts, those graphs, you use colors to decide which graph or which type of presentation are you going to use. And that's the art part. Now, statistics is also a science, obviously, because it's a body of knowledge where you will be using or will be applying a systematic process. We will collect, analyze, present, and interpret data, right? So that's statistics. It's both an art and science. We'll be processing or analyzing different types of data. In our data analysis process, we will be using this model. So from the raw data, we will use statistical methods in order to convert those raw data into useful information so that decision makers can use them. Right? So we'll be using statistical methods. We'll be using the help of a computer application, Excel, to process those raw data. Later on, I will be teaching you how to install the statistical toolpack of MS Excel. So now let us discuss the categories or types or branches of statistics. Basically, there are two types of statistics. We have descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. So what is descriptive statistics? In descriptive statistics, your objective is to present the data without forming any conclusion from those data. So you merely present those data using a table, like table of information. You may be using charts and graph, or maybe a numerical value like average or mean. Well, from the word descriptive, or its root word describe, you're simply describing that set of raw data. Now, what is inferential statistics? Now, in inferential statistics, the process here is to use the data from a sample to make estimates and test hypotheses about characteristics or attribute of a population. So we have to define first what is a sample and what is a population. Okay, so what is a population? Population is the set of all elements of interest in a particular study. In many situations, it is too costly to get data from all elements in the population. Okay, when you say population, this is the totality of the subject of your, let's say, research. Let's say the population of the Philippines. Is it 101 million Filipinos, as said by Catriona Gray? Yes, if your subject is all of the individuals here in the Philippines, you must be subjecting 101 million Filipinos in your research. So it says here that in many situations, it is too costly to get the data from all elements in the population. Well, it's true. Let me go back to my previous example, where your study includes the entire population of the Philippines. So imagine how costly and time-consuming it would be for you to gather data from 101 million Filipinos. So if you want to solve this problem, you might want to get your data or information from a smaller group from this population. And that's what we call a sample. So what is a sample? A sample is a subset of the population. It's a smaller group of the population. So the idea is to take a portion of that population, hoping that the information or the data taken from that portion of the population will represent the characteristic of the entire population. Well, as an example, in auditing, when we perform test of controls and substantive testing in order to gather evidence to help us decide whether the financial statements are materially misstated, the auditor has actually three options to select data or to select items to test for procedures. First, the auditor can test 100% of the population if, for example, the population consists of small numbers with high value. Or the auditor can also use specific identification using some parameters as stated by our standards. Or the auditor can also use audit sampling. So why do we use audit sampling? One of the limitations of financial statement audit is time consideration. We have to remember that the relevance of information diminishes over time. So we need to ensure that when we deliver or when we present the audited financial statements, it remains useful or relevant to the users of the financial statements. That is why audit sampling is an accepted procedure. So how does audit sampling works? So we have here the book value of the sample that we have chosen from the entire population. We perform audit procedures, substantive testing, to determine the audited value of the sample. From the audited value of the sample, we use error projection methods in order to determine the audited value of the population. From the population audited value, we will compare it from the book value of the population. From there, we will determine whether the financial statement or an item in the financial statements are materially misstated. depending on our materiality threshold. So just like inferential statistics. So from the sample, we use the data to estimate or test hypotheses about the characteristic of or attribute of a population. So from a sample we have taken from our items in the financial statements, we use audit procedures to determine the audited value of that sample in order to determine the value of the total population in order to make a decision whether the financial statements or an item in the financial statements are materially misstated. Well then, so we have discussed the definition of statistics, what are statistics and what is statistics. We have discussed the data analysis model that we'll be using for this course. We have also discussed the two categories or types or branches of statistics, and we have also differentiated or we have discussed the concept of population and sample.